Hello my dear friends. Today is going to be the third part of my video series about my reality model that I am building, still building I guess, have been building since I started my research of the occult in the 2019 or 2020, and now it is time for this third part. I would like to remind you that in my research, in this video I'm going to in my videos in general, and in this video I'm going to share my discoveries and conclusions from my research of the occult and conspiracies, allegories and metaphors of comparative mythologies, scriptures, symbolism, artifacts, juxtaposing them to the modern scientific theories and hypotheses, as well as alternative, or as they are often called, conspiracy theories, and also with my personal observations as a sociologist. I have got a plan here. I have written it long ago because this video was supposed to be made long ago, so I will maybe adhere to this plan partly. So let's start. I wrote here that I need to revise the first two videos. Makes sense for me? So we were talking about how occultism doesn't make difference between unlike modern science, physics, occultism doesn't make a difference between quantum world and Newton world. As well as doesn't make difference between macro and micro, and it's explained through the holographical theory of the world that was presented to the scientific community by, I guess, David Bohm. It never became mainstream theory. Of course, here I should jump to the part where I criticize the scientific method. But if I jump, I guess it will be too confusing for my listeners. So, also, along with the absence of size, macro and micro, there is absence of time in occultism, because time is emerges when things start to move. Sacred geometry. Sacred geometry is mostly is mostly what is moved, what moves in the sacred geometry. I would say that it's our attention particles are probably something that is the closest attention particle I can find in official science is probably a photon, and it makes sense because we see with eyes and it's connected to photons. So I would say that in attention particle can be considered a pointed photon in our reality model. So we were talking about the tree of life and astrology. Yeah, I think here I'm writing that I should compare shattering of vessels, the Sephiroth, to the asteroid belt. Yeah, so as you remember, I showed you that there are two representations, depictions of the structure of our reality software. One of them is an astrological circle. It's a view above, if you will, and another is a view from the side. Where is that? Well, in the previous video I had it here. It was very convenient, but I can't find it here now. To show to you. Well, anyways, so you got it. Shattering of can we find something similar as in can we find in Western astrology something similar to the Kabbalistic concept of the shattering of vessels? I would say the best candidate for shattered vessels, of course, would be the asteroid belt. Probably it is something that could be compared to that concept, because there was some kind of catastrophe, and the only catastrophe in astronomy that we know is asteroid belt. So from this point of view, asteroid belt is like it consists of those husks, and husks are distorted universal principles, demons if you want, because the undistorted universal principles are what we call the planets now, the planets of the solar system. They are also the informational operators here. They have separate, not separate, but their own specific code each of them, and this code comes from the planet, refracts in the celestial sphere, and gets to us in our qualities, as well as in the laws of physics, laws of I don't know, anything that any area of existence, any phenomenon could be understood through a combination of the universal principles. So planets are considered to be, in occultism, if we generalize Kabbalah and astrology, planets are like angels. Planets and Sephiroth are angels, and if we compare to pagan mythology, they are gods. And distorted, so husks, and planets in some wrong position, not wrong positions, in some special positions where they are not in their best form, I would say. So in astrology there are those terms like a planet could be in its good position, in some zodiac sign in its bad position, falling, exalting, in its domicile. So it depending on this position, if it's a negative position, like for example the fall, or it's even affected by some other planets or aspects of the planets, so it might be considered a demon. So planets, universal principles in not favoring them positions become distorted, and so this is what occultism or Christian mythology and now pop culture refer to as demons. Although usually the practitioners, contemporary occult practitioners, they don't usually perceive them this way. Usually they only have two modes of perceiving demons and angels, ontologically and psychologically. As you can see, my perception of them is different from the one of the practitioners. I can say I'm a practitioner, I'm a researcher here, and or I'm a practitioner of a different kind, if you if you will. So, okay. Should I explain here the difference between ontological and psychological perception of entities, demons. So ontological, it means that they perceive them as beings, like gods. All those Olympian gods are perceived as real entities, like anthropomorphized, probably, or not anthropomorphized, but an entity. An entity with its own will, with its own probably goals. Yeah. And the psychological, so this implies that they would talk to them, ask them to fulfill their wishes and so on, or to do something else, something bad, baneful, magic. They will treat them as someone they take power from, and so on. Psychological perception of entities is different, and it's kind of they don't think they're real entities, but it's like a part of your psyche. Yeah. So for me, it's just it's of course my perception is closer to a psychological one, but it's kind of not purely psychological, because it's they are informational operators and universal principles. That when they are distorted for some reasons, they become demons. But demons, this terminology, demons and angels, only starts to exist after the emergence of Christianity. So, anyways, since I mentioned here that there is no time, no size, there is a very interesting concept in physics, multi-world interpretation of Everett's multi-world interpretation in quantum physics, and it says it stipulates that each time a wave function, quantum wave function, is collapsed by observation, collapsed or measured, yeah, by observation. So several opportunities emerge. So in physics, it was about this Schrödinger cat and some other variations of this experiment, but in a more general sense, it's just that anything that you choose to, there emerges a new world, like emerges a world where you made this choice, and emerges a world where you make a different choice. And so there is an infinite amount of worlds. With this respect, I would speculate here that what we perceive as past, the future, present, all of them might be just parallel universes. In fact, they very well can exist simultaneously, and also from a historical point of view, those historic periods that we know as historic, for example, doesn't mean that they were in the past. From this point of view, we can reincarnate if we do in the past, not necessarily in the future. If you think, because past is not past, it just exists somewhere here nearby us. So, and another speculation from this is to reconcile this discrepancies in the artifacts that we find all over the world, and we find a lot. There are, for example, those antique. When did I start? So 20 minutes ago. Okay, so yeah, those antique Greek artifacts, those that we find on the territory of Turkey, for example, now they are considered to be, they've been shown to people. Those there are many objects of similar architecture, and all of them are not complete buildings. If you do your due diligence, go there and visit all of them and do your due diligence, you'll find out that they are not completed. So they were, by the time they were supposed to be accepted by the kings or whoever was ruling at that time, they didn't. The kings couldn't have. Why did the kings accept an object that was not built till the end? And all of them are like this. There are those colonnade objects, big, like not square but rectangular, huge colonnades that they call temples. There is this amphitheater, absolutely not built for people to sit there or something. Then those baths, and no, around all of those objects, the set of objects, this colonnade temple, amphitheater, and baths, they are all usually, they're never finished, and never finished in different ways, different parts, but never finished. And they are very far away from any residential infrastructure, so who could have, they are very isolated objects. around them, nothing tells us that someone has found something, some city nearby or something. No, just those objects, very isolated, and no hint on any people who ever lived around those objects. So, what does it tell us about the nature of our reality, this circumstance? I would stipulate it could hint that different worlds sometimes collide one into another, or as I said in the previous videos, that new levels of the game form from time to time. Not very correct, not from time to time, but when the architecture of our software changes, and it changes when our mind changes. For example, there was that shift in our mind when crucifixion happened, and a new game level formed for those whose mind was not only polarized by chaos and order, but also good and evil. Yeah, but probably there are also some other types of reasons for new levels or new games, new worlds with different constants, physical constants, physical laws to emerge. Yeah, I need to say that this video is pretty messy. Probably another half an hour. Yeah, here it's about what research material escaped the sample. In the previous video, I was talking about how my methodology of research and practitioners that I could analyze, that I could reach. But of course there are practitioners, most probably there are practitioners that we can't reach on YouTube and Instagram. And most probably they are more serious. I doubt that they can do real magic, because real magic, the way I understand it, was possible in another matrix with other physics laws. Yes, and this was in the previous matrix, when there was no axis of polarization of good and evil yet. It was only good and evil. So in our current configuration of the reality software, real magic that we listen from the past they were maybe possible there, because the physics was different, as I said. But in this physics, it's very rigid. Now, to unfold it, so there is a very order has already won too much and won completely the chaos. So when there was a chaos still fighting with order, it was still possible to do something. But order means implied, imposed rules. You can't do differently. So now we're living in this stage. We can't do differently. We to resist this circumstance, these limitations, we most probably need to develop one of the universal principles in us. Which universal principle would be that? Probably chaos. Chaos can dissolve order. There are a lot of grimoires. Actually, there are much less grimoires, not a lot. Actually, there are very few grimoires who speak about that. And in general, why? In general, the problem about grimoires is that they were all rewritten by Aleister Crowley and company in the beginning of the 20th century. So, and his edition probably has taken from the ancient grimoires all the real magic, I would say. So all those techniques, how to develop that forbidden principle, universal principle that is able to fight the order, the laws of this universe, this reality. But I started from why I can't reach some of practitioners and include my observations, my conclusions about the observations of them into my research, because how do I enter secret societies? Probably it's these practitioners are from some wealthy families, from those families who have much knowledge than the general public. Probably they want this knowledge for themselves, and they don't publish, of course, and don't make any Zoom sessions and publish them online. Now we are logically sliding into the field of conspiracies, of course. That's why I told you that they are together, they live together, and I got to equate them. This is one of the reasons why I did it, or one of the consequences. So, if someone can sponsor me to make a research on those groups, how they do their occult practices, you are very welcome. I will accept that offer. I will. So, people, my dear listeners, please sponsor me if you can. Okay, what's next? Next on our plan, black cube. Fragmentation of soul. Yeah, grimoires problem I already told you. Well, unfortunately my own throat is not very good today, and I will need to finish here, but I gave myself a promise to be more consistent with this activity, so hope to see you really soon next time.